So welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. We're thrilled with the turnout that we got for this event. Actually, we have 350 people registered for the event. I'm not sure how many we'll have online today, but clearly there was lots of interest in the event, and we have people from all across Canada and actually from other countries like China joining us today. So thank you for coming and thank you for your interest. I thought I'd start just by introducing myself. My name is Wendy Powley, and I'm the one that sort of spearheaded the organization of this program. And let's get this right out of the way at the very beginning. I am not a cybersecurity expert. I am a professor in the School of Queen's, professor in the School of Computing at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. And as I said, my area is not cybersecurity, but I have a real passion for inspiring women to get into the field, into any field in computer science, and sort of inspiring basically people in general, but I've done a lot of work with women specifically, and I was the founder of the Canadian Celebration of Women in Computing event, which I know that many of you have been to because I saw lots of familiar names in the people who were joining. So that's me. The cybersecurity experts are on the right-hand side. We have Anika, Awista, Lama, and Maryam, and they are all students in our specialized cybersecurity program here at Queen's. And they are the experts, and they're the ones that are going to be doing the presenting. We also have Deborah Lewis down at the bottom there, and Deborah is the one that needs to take credit for the whole program because she has done all of the heavy lifting behind the scenes to get the program together, to put up the website, to do all the communication, etc. So thank you so much, Deborah. I get to stand here or sit here. I'm sitting like all the rest of you and take the credit, but it's really Deborah who's been doing all of the work behind the scenes. So this is our organizing team. Why did this program come into existence? It came about because of a Google Explore CSR grant. Explore CSR stands for Explore Computer Science Research. And Google's been giving out grants to aid university efforts to support students from underrepresented groups to pursue graduate studies and research careers in computing. So they were giving out money to do programs, and we seized the opportunity and put together what I think is a really amazing program. Why do we choose cybersecurity and women? Well, cybersecurity, with the increased use of technology today, is such an important topic, okay? It doesn't really get much more important than cybersecurity and keeping all of our data safe and all of the digital information that's out there on us safe. Why women? Women make up only 10% of the cybersecurity workforce. In general, in technology, in technological roles, women only make up about 25% of the workforce, but in certain areas like cybersecurity, it's even less. So 10% of the cybersecurity workforce is women, which is kind of appalling considering 52% or something of the population are women. Why not more women in this field? A side reason for wanting to do cybersecurity is that Queen's actually has a specialized graduate program in cybersecurity. So it's called the NSERC Create Cybersecurity Program. And Deborah is actually the administrative coordinator for this program as well. So if you have any questions about this program, and we're going to be talking about this program as we go through the next couple of weeks, our different activities, talk about this program a little bit more. It is a work integrated experiential learning opportunity, so a graduate program with kind of a co-op opportunity in there. Kind of a cool program. It's run by the Queen's School of Computing and the Royal Military College of Canada. So if you're interested in this program, the email is here on the page, and this is the email that we've been using for this program as well. It goes to Deborah. She can answer all of your questions. Okay, so what have we got planned for you? So we have a lot of activities planned. We decided to spread them over a couple of weeks. We wanted to do the workshops kind of in close proximity to each other, so we have quite a lot piled into today and tomorrow. So we have 4 workshops, 2 today, 2 tomorrow. What we're going to do is go for about an hour for the first presentation with some Q&A at the end. We're going to take a short break. We don't want you to go anywhere. We want you to stick around, but we thought you might need some time to stretch your legs, get up and move around, get some coffee, get some cookies, get some more cookies, get some more cookies, if you're anything like me, and come back at 3:30 for the next presentation. So we'll take a short break. You can feel free to stay online and just, walk away. That's totally fine, or you can drop and join again later. So the same schedule will happen for today and tomorrow. So a presentation at 2 and a presentation at 3:30 on both of the days. These presentations will be given by the 4 lovely ladies on my first slide. So they are the cybersecurity experts. They're going to be teaching us about cybersecurity. Their presentations are meant for people who have no background in cybersecurity, so you don't need to be an expert. So I'm going to sit in and learn something actually, because like I said, I'm not an expert in this area, so it will be interesting for me to learn as well. On Monday morning, we have a cybersecurity expert from RCMP, Angela Anand, who's going to talk about some of the cool cases that the RCMP has investigated in the past. And she's going to talk about sort of how she got into the field and what it's like being a woman in this field as well. On January 22nd, so next Friday, we have a careers and grad school panel. So we have some industrial professionals who are cybersecurity experts and our grad school students who are going to talk about what it's like to be in grad school, what it's like to be a student, what are some of the careers in the area of cybersecurity. So that's next Friday. Then on the Saturday, we have our cybersecurity case competition. This is where the money comes in from Google. So we have cash prizes for this competition. I'll talk about that again in a second. So that's from 10 to 1 on the Saturday. And then on February 1st, a little bit after all of this, we have another expert from public safety, Colleen Merchant, who's going to talk about her experiences in the field as well. So we hope that you can join us for as many of these activities as you can. If you can't come to everything, that's fine. Pop in and out as you can or as you will. Talking a little bit about the case competition. So I said it's going to be held on Saturday, January 23rd. The way this is going to run is we're going to put participants in groups of 5 to 6. So we're going to actually make the groups. So our hope is that you'll get to meet some people from different universities or from different companies. We actually have lots of professionals in the crowd as well. You're certainly welcome to take part in this as well, the case competition. So you'll be put into a group with 5 or 6 people. You're going to read a case pertaining to a cybersecurity issue, and then you're going to use tips and information that you've learned in these workshops that we're going to be doing over the next couple of days to come up with a solution to the problem. It's meant to be low-key, it's meant to be fun, it's meant to be social, it's nothing terribly serious. Okay, so we'd really like you to take part. You don't have to have any experience. The cases are going to be pretty general and sort of pertaining to things that we've talked about in the next couple of days. So once you come up with a solution, you'll present to some judges. Of course, everything's done virtually, and there's cash prizes thanks to Google. So we'd like you to register before midnight of January 18th, if at all possible, because we need to know how many people we're going to have and to form the groups. Anyone who takes part in the case competition will be eligible to apply for paid summer internships. So we're looking for undergraduate students here who would like to work on a cybersecurity research project with either a Queen's School of Computing or Royal Military College professor for the summer of 2021. So taking part in the case competition will make you eligible to apply for the internships if you're interested. These are paid summer internships that will be offered through this program and through our NSERC Create program. Okay, if you haven't done so already, I'd like you to fill in the Google survey. So they have a survey that they like to do with these programs. So there's a number of these different programs running across US and Canada. There's two Explore CSR grants in Canada, one at U of T and one here. And they're doing pre and post surveys for all of the programs. They're just a general survey, sort of about your interests and your backgrounds and things like that. If you haven't done it already, if you could please fill that in the next day or so. You should choose Queen's University as the university name, so it's where the program is being run, which is kind of hard to tell where it's being run these days, isn't it? Because everything's being run from my daughter's bedroom at the moment. So choose Queen's University as the university name and fill in that survey. I said it's in the chat. It is in the chat. I see that the names were still coming up of people who were coming into the meeting, so I'll put it in the chat again later for you to fill in. We'll also post it on the website. I'd like to take a minute to thank our many sponsors. So we have a number of sponsors for our NSERC Create program. They're contributing speakers and resources to this program, but Google for providing the grant for this program. Okay, just really quickly, some logistics. So everybody but the speaker will remain on mute. I don't think you even have the ability to unmute yourselves, actually. Feel free to post questions in the chat. So there's going to be a Q&A at the end of each presentation. So we'll take your questions there. Unfortunately, we can't really unmute people and have them talk, but we'll answer questions from the chat. We are recording these workshop presentations over the next couple of days, and we'll post them on our explorecsr.ca website. The exclusion to this will be our guest speakers. So our guest speaker presentations from the RCMP and public safety, due to privacy considerations, these will not be recorded and posted. So hopefully you can join us live for those. And certainly feel free to invite friends to the guest speakers. That's totally fine. If you have friends that you think would be interested to come, let them know. Closed captioning is available in Teams. If you feel you need closed captioning, if you choose the ... at the top and turn on live captions, it will caption the live presentations that we're doing here. And as I already said, after the first speaker finishes, we're going to have a 15-minute break before the second presentation. Okay, so it's my great pleasure to introduce Maryam Devani, who is going to be our first speaker, and she is a graduate student in our NSERC Create cybersecurity program. She's going to be talking about why cybersecurity matters. So I'll turn things over to Maryam. Thank you for your attention. And I'll stop sharing so Maryam can share. Hi, Maryam.
Hi everyone. So my name is Maryam and I'm PhD student in the School of Computing. So today I'm so happy to be here and I will present why cybersecurity matter. So can you see my slides?
No. I'm seeing a whiteboard.
Oh, okay, just let me do it again. Okay.
I find it actually better to share your, oh, there they go. Okay, we got it.
Yes. So why cybersecurity matter? So I start my presentation with computer security losses. What is security? And basic concepts of basic components of security, such as confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That are three main components of security. And we will talk about vulnerability, threats, and control, and then we review some attacks and the method of defense. Hopefully by end of this presentation, we will learn some new stuff. So I think, I believe most of you have heard or seen these terms in news or email or conversations like privacy, security, applications, integrity, vulnerability, fraud, every single day, encryption. So I plan to make you more familiar with this concept and learn what's going on in the cybersecurity area. So this, as you can see, this figure shows the FBI computer crime and security survey for 2006. And it shows the estimated losses that caused by various types of computer security issues. As you can see, the top four are virus, unauthorized access, laptop or mobile hardware thief, and thief of property information. So, and you see that this is the values are based on, I mean, the maximum is $16 million, and it's just for 2006. So this figure is also shows what they did. So those kind of attack happens and how they deal with those attacks. The first two are firewall and antivirus. I think that most of us know that we need to install firewall or antivirus on our computer systems, but there are many more techniques that we need to apply in order to stay secure or stay our data or private information secure, that we try to cover in this talk. So, I mean, there are critical infrastructure, right? We have the telecommunication, electronic power system, water supply system, gas or oil pipeline, transportation, government services, emergency services, banking, finance. In each single of these items, there are security involved. So we need to know why, because of that, we try to cover why security is important. So, but, okay, all the time we say security, security, but what secure means to you? And and the identity of the threats you care about. Okay, we will talk about what is the threat, but you know virus, right? Even you heard of virus, Trojan horse, denial of service, those kind of issues, right? Just we need to remember that 100 secure system is not possible at all. We try to provide security, but 100% is not guaranteed. So the basic concept in the security, basic components in security are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So confidentiality, it means that who is authorized to use data. Integrity, it means that is data good. It means that isn't a data modified during, for example, transferring from client to server. And availability, it means that data can be accessed at any time, at anywhere. So if these three components, confidential, that we call CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, can be supported, can be covered at the same time, as you can see in the figure, the red S shows that they need to be at the same time. It's the and, is not or. We can say the system is secure. So there are other components like as authentication that answer the question is who am I? And another one is the authorization that, for example, about the authentication, we can talk about password, right? About authorization, we ensure that the right person has the access to the right resource. Another one is the non-repudiation. It means that, for example, you have the client and server, and then the client gets some information, but it needs to make sure that the data that she or he gets is the actual data, is not modified, is not manipulated between the transportation. So we talk about CIA, but if, for example, we say that, okay, our system can cover confidentiality by disconnecting computer from internet, for sure, it will be confidential, but it's not available because it's not connected to other networks, or is not integrity is not provided. So, or for example, we said, okay, we just provide integrity, not confidentiality and availability. But still, by extensive, for example, there is something in computer, we say that checksum, we just calculate some number and attach it at the end of the data, send it to server side, the other side calculate that number and say, oh, okay, this package or this package of data has not been modified, those kind of, but it's not practical. And another one is the confidentiality is the basis for data access. How do we know who needs what data, right? There's a research path that is called access control. They focus on exactly this question. How do we know who needs what data? Or how do we know a user is the person she claims? That is the identification and verification concept. And I already talked about confidentiality and about the integrity versus confidentiality. So it's a concern with unauthorized modification. Okay, I try to focus on CIA because it's the main components, and if you understand the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, you can follow up much easier. So after these three components, we talk about vulnerability, threats, and control. There is a term in cybersecurity that called vulnerability. It means that there is a weakness in the security system. I will provide you an example to understand it, understand much easier. Another one is a threat. It's a circumstance that have a potential to cause harm, and the control means that the way to block the threats, the way to not threats cause explosion. So, for example, we can talk about a New Orleans disaster in 2005. That I think that you heard of Hurricane Katrina. That what it happened, the vulnerability was that the location was below the water level, and geographical location, that was the vulnerability. Threat was the hurricane or dam damage or terrorist attack, and the control was dam and or other civil infrastructure. So we said that there is a threat and there is a control mechanism that can control the threat. But if the threat cannot be controlled, attack can happen. Attack can be successful or unsuccessful. When we say that attack is successful, it means that they breach into the system. The penetration happened. They access already to your data in your system. But unsuccessful, it means that the control mechanism just blocked the threat and they cannot penetrate into your system. So there are different kinds of threats. We say that there are local threats like hackers. There are shared threats, for example, if you are working in an organization, organized crime, industrial, or national security threat, that is the national intelligence. So about the kinds of threat, we can say that they try to intercept. It means that an unauthorized party gain access to an asset. They interrupt. It means that the asset become lost or become unavailable to you. Modification, they change some part of your asset. Or fabrication, an unauthorized party counterfeit an asset. Okay, so we will talk about, there are top 10, here we have the top 10 database security threats, but I don't plan to read all of them. We can just review a couple of them. For example, excessive privilege abuse. For example, users are granted database access privilege, right, that exceed the requirement of the job function. For example, assume that in the university administrator, whose job is just, for example, they update a student contact information, right? But they have the access. So maybe they can take advantage of excessive database and update, for example, a student's course grades. Or another one can be legitimate privilege abuse. For example, users may abuse legitimate database privilege for unauthorized purposes. For example, in the health worker who is willing to trade patients' records just for money. They don't change, they just trade the informations. And there are more that, because of the time, I don't plan to cover all of them. So, as mentioned, the asset of the computer system can be categorized into four. That is hardware, software, data, communication line, and network. So we briefly will describe these four categories and relate these to the concept of CIA, integrity, confidentiality, and availability. So hardware is a major threat about the hardware is the availability, A in the CIA. Hardware is the most vulnerable to attack and the least susceptible to automated control. We will talk about the control mechanism, but threats include accidental and deliberate damage to the equipment. For example, you can just think about CD-ROMs or DVD. This hardware can be easily, they have a vulnerability and can be easily attacked. Or about, for example, other mechanisms like word driving is a mechanism that they just try to drive around your neighborhood and find unsecure wireless network to use it. Another one is a software. Software, for example, we think about operating system, but think about applications, utilities. A key threat is an attack on availability, again, similar to hardware. Software is often easy to delete, can be altered, can be modified, can be damaged. For example, we can talk about Trojan horse. Trojan horse is a type of malware that comes attached to what looks like, you think that is a legitimate program, but it's not. But in reality, it's the fake version of application that loaded with the malware. They try to gain just access to the user's system. Or another one can be computer virus. It's actually, again, malicious software program, or we call it malware, that when infecting your system, replicate itself by modifying other parts of the computer program and insert in its own code. Or another one about logic bomb. Logic bomb is a malicious program that is triggered when a logical condition is met. For example, after a couple of transactions, they are triggered. Or trapdoor. Trapdoor is a kind of secret entry point into the program that they allows anyone get access to the system. So I talk about the logic bomb, trapdoor, and virus, worm, the kind of the software issues. So the third one is data. So data involves files or other forms of data controlled by individuals, by groups, by business, by organization. Security concerns with respect to data are broad. For example, it can encompass availability, integrity. So, I'm sorry. So the obvious concern with the data security is unauthorized reading of data or your file or your database. A less obvious threat that we can think of in the direction of security is the analysis of data, and that we call it statistical databases. So about there are different types of attack on the CIA. That is attack on data confidentiality, that is disclosure, or unauthorized modification, that is providing wrong data, or disruption, for example, denial of service. For those of you that they don't know denial of service attack makes a machine or network resource unavailable to intended users. What they do, they flood the target machine or resource with lots of requests, so they prevent some of the legitimate requests. And user option and most of them focus on unauthorized users gain access to your data. Some of them change some part of your system, or some of them just collect the information from your system. So there are different ways to attack CIA, data CIA. The one of them is about that attacks data confidentiality is a tapping or a snooping, or about data confidentiality we can think of salami attack. Salami attack is that also they call it salami slicing attack. Is a technique by cyber criminal that they steal money or resource a bit at the time, so you cannot, it's not noticeable and you cannot easily recognize that. An example of data availability is a denial of service that I just talk about that. Okay, we said what is the vulnerability, right? We said that vulnerability is the issue in the system. For example, it can happen because of source code that's written by developer. There are some holes, there are some security issues. So we can say that in addition to the hardware, software, data, we also can think of network, access, and people. So because network is so wide and is so complicated, so a vulnerability can multiply vulnerabilities or threat into the system, and it's not easy to track them. Because, for example, there's a wireless network, many components connected to each other. Another one can be about access vulnerability. For example, the bandwidth can be stolen, right? Or the physical access, malicious physical access is not easy to track them. And about the people, for example, in companies, I think that most of you know, there are some unhappy employee and they can do something. Or about social engineering, that I will talk about that is really, even if your employees are really skillful and the insider employees are really honest, but still they are vulnerable to social engineering. Okay, what is social engineering? Social engineering, okay, even with the best password or encryption mechanism in a company or in your system or in your laptop, anything, or even your credit card number, we are still left with the issue of social engineering. Social engineering is a collection of techniques that try to trick people into getting their private information. The social engineering attempt to use the information to gain unauthorized access to the computer system or in order to commit fraud. And why they do that? They, for example, they just like the conversation. I'm calling from Technology for America. So we are a non-profit organization working to help ensure that US stays at the forefront of the computer technology. Today we are conducting a telephone survey about the usage of computer system. Can I ask a few questions about your computer system? See, it's not really so special. You think that, okay, it's just kind of survey or something like that. But the intention of social engineering is to steal your identity. And then they use your identity to run up bills, to commit crime in your name, or access your organization computer system, or phishing. You will get emails that I will talk about, the phishing email, or even high-tech scam. You will notice that, oh, after the call you will get some scam. Yeah, that is because of social engineering. Yeah, social engineering techniques that they do is about they try to impersonate. That is act of pretending to be another person for the purpose of entertainment or fraud, eavesdropping. They listen to the private conversations of others, or shoulder surfing. For example, they practice of spying of electronic devices. For example, maybe you notice in the ATM that you try to insert your PIN number, some shoulder surfing happen. Dumpster diving is trying to find vulnerable information in someone's trash, like contact information, bank account statement, or any other private information. Tailgating is an unauthorized person wearing a fake ID, just following an authorized person just to enter some secure area. Or, for example, maybe you've heard this sentence that I forgot my access card, please allow me access. That is piggybacking. Or reverse social engineering. Reverse social engineering, attacker first damage the target equipment and then try to take advantage of that and say, okay, I'm trying to fix this and I'm willing to solve this problem. And he gained the whole trust of the target. That can be an organization, that can be anything, and then they get access to the sensitive information. Or phishing. Phishing, I will show you an example of the phishing email that I think that we all get some email like that. That is the technique that just try to get the private information. They send you an email that appears to come from the legitimate business, especially like bank or credit card company, and they request you to verify something, or they ask you for insert your information like address, email, something like that. Spear phishing is a more targeted phishing attack, is in the same category of phishing. Baiting attacker take the advantage of humans' curiosity or aggregate by luring the person to do something of what attacker can take benefit to attack or gain confidential information. Pretexting attacker try to show that his colleague, or he is a police officer or someone like that to get your confidential information. And scareware involves a victim being bombarded with a false alarm and making user believe that their machine has it shows that there's something wrong with your machine, and they try to take advantage of that. This is the example of the phishing email that you can see that. For example, at the top is a non-descriptive or incorrect address, and you see that the email address of from and reply to are two different email addresses. And the grammar, it has a poor grammar, and also the most important part is that they ask you to provide some information, some confidentiality information, and you at the end of the email you don't see any accurate contact information. Okay, we talk about confidentiality, integrity, availability, and we talk about the importance of the vulnerability in this area. And now we will talk about attacks. So we seen that, okay, we've heard or we've seen many times in news that some hacking or cracking or happened in the different organization. But for attacking, we need method, that means that that person needs knowledge, needs skill, also tools, some professional tools. It needs opportunity. It needs to know what time, under what circumstances it can attack a system, and also it needs motivation. For example, attacker won't takes time to attack a student's bank account. It really needs motivation to spend that much time, energy, and skill to attack something. So there are different types of attackers. There's one amateur that is usually happens that we've seen that, for example, they are a student or 14-year-old student attack something. There are hackers that are not non-malicious and they do it in order to find some issues. There are crackers, they are malicious. Career criminal, for example, they work for a company and then they fire and they try to do bad thing about that company. And state-supported spies and information warrior is also another kind of the attacks. Yeah, I talk about recreational, organized criminal, and national intellectual gatherers. So this figure is really interesting. As you can see that they are based on technical knowledge required and based on sophistications of hacker tool. The first one is a password guessing that I will talk about that because it's really interesting and is the less sophisticated mechanism. I mean, it needs less sophisticated hacking tool and also it needs less time. After password guessing, we go for there's a password cracking, self-replicating code, backdoor that I talk about. What is the backdoor? Or I can just say backdoor. It means that they get unauthorized access to the people's informations. After that is hijacking. For those of you who don't know hijacking happens when an intruder take control of session, for example, between client and server, they transfer information and the hijacking take control of that one. And instead of communication between the actual client and server, third party or man in the middle attack comes and try to connect and take advantage of this connection. Another one is sweeper. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of virus attack that is a fake it's something like fake antivirus program. And after that is a sniffer. A sniffer is a software or hardware tool that allows the user to sniff or monitor the network traffic, DDoS, distributed denial of service, and so on. You will see that they become more complicated. They need more complicated hacker tool, and also they need more time and effort. So I just try to show you briefly talk about the password. So we have password, we set up password everywhere, for example, for your email, for an ATM, for a credit card number. But the question is, how long should a password be? Okay, there is a formula that I don't try to make it technical, but I just try to show you something. So that called Anderson formula. They show that the probability that an attacker guesses a password in a specific period of time should be bigger than based on the number of time units during which guessing the password happens, multiplied times by the number of guesses that can be tested in one time over the total number of possible passwords. Okay, if we just think about 4-digit PIN number that usually we pick 4 digits, for example, for bank, for a credit card, something like that. Based on that formula, the time that takes to hack just 4-digit PIN number is just 1 second for a hacker. That is kind of scary. So another attack is a dictionary attack. That is because it's still in the password area. I'll talk about that briefly. It's a kind of, they try to, dictionary, it can be anything. It can be Wikipedia or any resources. They collect some data and they generate some random like password. And they just try to find a match between what they try to figure it out and what they have. So if they find the match, they can break the password. are many tools that they can crack passwords like 10PHT crack and Cracker Pandora. With these tools help people to crack passwords. Okay, we talk about attacks. Okay, what is the defense mechanism? What we can do, or what the expert people in this area can do to prevent attack? So there are different approaches to defense of computer system. One is prevent. Try to make the vulnerability less, especially in the implementation part, for example. Another one is deter attack. Make attack harder. Not impossible for sure, but harder. Another one can be deflect. Make another target more attractive than the actual target. Detect attack. Just detect attack. Try to detect attack even during or right after that. Or okay, if attack happened, just try to recover from attack, not just leave it as it is. Okay, I talk about, as you remember, I said vulnerability. There are three main things: vulnerability, threat, and control. Threat was a circumstance that have a potential to cause harm. And as a reminder, control means any way just to block the threat. So in order to understand controls easy, so I try to give an example. Castle in the Middle Age. So to control castle in the Middle Age, so we think about natural obstacle, right? Just to protect the castle. For example, moat or walls, gate, guards, password, all these just try to make the castle secure or protected. In a computer security and in today's computer, we also try to control the system. One mechanism is encryption, or about control software or control hardware. There is something called policies. It means that they just write down who can access what data under what situation. And also physical controls that we will try to cover these 5 elements in the following slides. So encryption. So encryption, I think you have an idea, but it means that the clear text or plain text shouldn't store in the database, right? Even if, for example, just in the worst case, if an unauthorized user access to your database, if it's not plain text, it is encrypted. If it's different, they cannot understand it easily. It makes your system, that data more secure. But in the context of CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability, there is masking data. Masking data is a process of hiding original data with modifying content. They try to modify content based on some algorithm. About integrity, they add some checksum. This is something like they calculate number based on some formula algorithm, and they attach it at the end of their data, and they can, if on the other ends, at the other side, they can calculate and get the same number or the same value. It means that this data has not been touched during the, for example, when the package was receiving. And another one is availability, and in this area also there are some protocols. That is encryption-based protocol that helps a lot to make the system, keep the system secure. But in the context of software control, for example, the biggest software that we deal with is operating system, right? To make the operating system, to control operating system, there is a mechanism called sandboxing. Sandboxing is a cybersecurity practice that you run code and observe and analyze the code in the safe mode. Or about firewall, I show you in I think it was in the third or fourth slide, that firewall was the highest mechanism, the most frequent mechanism that been used by the companies or organization to deal with attacks. And Firewall can be hardware and can also be software that say that it has some kind of policies that say that what kind of package or which package can enter this system or which package cannot. And then about the independent control program, we can think about password checker, virus scanner, or IDS, intrusion detection system. Intrusion detection system is a system that monitors network traffic and check the activity that happening in the network. Actually, it scans the network or a system to avoid any harmful activity. And for example, about internal program control, I mean, each category of software like operating system, independent control program, internal program controls, we need to read or write content of DBMS. DBMS is a database management system. The control mechanism of DBMS is to read the content. There is no other way. And about hardware, so there are different hardware to control. There are different mechanisms to control hardware, like lock, cable, smart cards, dongle, hardware keys that can help. So I talk about policy. I believe that what is or what is not allowed to access to the system, and it's just focused on accessing. Talk about this. For example, we say that when we talk about the mechanism to protect information, or about, for example, password, we say that okay, 4-digit PIN number can be hacked under 1 second. So what we can do? So right, we can say that okay, 200 character password is secure. For sure, is secure, but no one can pick 200 character password or remember those. So it's not kind of practical. I mean, there are some solutions for sure, but they are not really practical. About the physical control, that we all know that we can use walls, log, guards, security camera, like castle, backup copies, cable, locks. These all can help in order to control our system from physical perspective. So there are some challenges in cybersecurity. I think, always when the software is developed, they think about it should be user friendly, it should be convenient, and it should function properly, everything. But security at the same time should be provided. So they need a trade-off between security and the other purposes. Because of that, still many companies, they don't involve security in the software development process. Because they say that, okay, we develop a product, we develop a software, and if something happens, security issue happen, user or end user can just report, and then we release another update. And the main purpose is that because of budget, because security need money, and they try to push security to the back end of the process. Another one can be big data, because Facebook announced that, for example, every single day 500 terabytes of data is processed in Facebook. That is huge. Or about big companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook. They deal with 1,200 or 1.2 million terabytes of data. So providing security for these huge amount of data is not easy at all. Also, there are different kind of data types. It's not just one data type. There are HTML, XML, MP3, GIF, and so on. They need different mechanism. And also new technology is introduced to the world every single day. So it's not easy to keep track and provide security for all of them. Thank you so much. I would be happy to answer any question if you have. I cannot hear you.
Deborah, you're muted.
Yeah.
We have to say that at least once during a video meeting, don't we?
That's true. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I'll be taking the questions in the chat and asking Maryam to answer them. And I just wanted to remind everybody that if you could register separately for the cybersecurity case competition on our website. I know that many of you have already registered for it, but we had such an overwhelming response that we needed to do a separate registration for it. So if you could all do that, perhaps, you know, if you have time later on or in between the two workshops today. The second one will be starting at 3:30. So, okay, so let's start with all these questions here. Okay, a lot of thank yous, Maryam. A lot of thank yous for you. The slides will be posted. Maryam, did you want me to answer that?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay, so all of the events will be recorded and will be posted on our website. So that is explorecsr.ca. So after each event, we'll post it onto our website because every event is being recorded. Next question. What would you recommend as resources to learn more about this subject?
About cybersecurity? I mean, cybersecurity is really wide area, but if you want to get an abstract knowledge, because what I presented just then is just give an overview of what is the cybersecurity. So there are many online resources that really helps, and also YouTube videos that can just so quickly you get an idea about what's going on in cybersecurity. And also there are some books about the cybersecurity. I think for the first step and the easiest part is just start from Googling and YouTube, because there are many resources that just can save your time, and also because it has a graphic, someone present for you, it's just like online classes. So because of it helps a lot.
Okay, next question. What kind of precautions can we take every day to prevent us from cyber hackers?
So it depends. So I mean, if you just you want to think about as a student, it depends on where you are. If you are a student and you have a just credit card and a laptop, so you should really care about password and the PIN number, as I show you, that is really scary. So the PIN number shouldn't be easy. And about the password, your email password, something like that, it should be long enough that usually, for example, Gmail, they recommend that it should be 8, the length should be 8 characters with different numbers, letters, or even signs like a star, those kind of stuff that make the attacker job harder. And in addition to that, social engineering is really scary, because social engineering, you get a call. If you get a call, they ask you to survey something, do something, or ask you some general information. Don't give them any personal information, and don't participate in the survey that they just call you and they say, okay, we want to do this. No, because it's for sure is a social engineering. Or about emails, for sure, phishing is another common thing that's happening. So you should really, when you get an email, you should check the subject, sender, receiver, from where, and make sure that organization like bank never ever ask you for confidential information in the email. They don't say that, give me your password, ever. They just, even they ask you come to the branch. They don't ask you this confidential information over phone or on email. Just try to keep your confidential information as secure. Don't share them with no one. And about password, try to update them regularly. For example, once per month, it's really helpful. Use the complicated method like letter, numbers, signs. And about the physical attack, because there are some physical instrument that they can just insert in your computer and then transfer information like flash. So they don't do that. Don't trust people, and they don't. In general, you shouldn't trust anyone in security. So especially when you have a personal information or confidential information on the device, your device store information, and don't let others use your device. Just if you want to give your laptop to someone, just log out. Or for example, if you use the computer, a shared computer, just log out and give the access to others. I think that they are the best. I mean, the easiest, and also the thing that every day we deal with, and we might, as a student, we might get.
Okay, next question. Maryam?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on getting cybersecurity certificates?
Site? What site?
Cybersecurity certificates. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, if you are, especially if you are in the engineering direction, getting idea of the cybersecurity, it really helps, because yeah, and there are many organizations that they provide this online training, and also you can participate and get the certificate. I think it's really good. It really helps for their future job.
Okay. About the graphic on time and level of technology, does the time relate to how much time each attack needs, or how the attack has developed over time?
Yeah, I mean, the time is really, because as I show you, for hacking something, you need a skill. In addition to a skill, even if that person is so expert, so they need to have a knowledge on that specific software. They need to know, because it's different, right? System to system are different. And also they need tool. They need to find the appropriate tool to break that system. Yeah, it depends on how hard that system, because when the system is bigger, is more complicated, and is harder to break a large system. But if a system is smaller, so it's not hard to break. So yeah, it depends on the type of the system, how big the size of the system, the available tool that they need to break. It depends on how expert that person is, and how motivated. If that person is really motivated, there is a huge amount of money. Maybe he has spent hours and hours just try to break it. But if it doesn't have enough motivation, maybe just spend 1 hour every day. It depends on the nature of the system that he plans to break.
Okay. Now we have a lot of questions, but I think we only have time for one more. Gosh, I hope that everybody will stick around for the second presentation, and hopefully you'll be able to answer your questions if they weren't answered during this one. But the last question is, if we're thinking of going into a different major for computing, but are interested in cybersecurity, would it be recommended to do a certificate or cybersecurity? Also, how useful would the certificate be?
Okay, that's a really interesting question, because now for the job perspective, machine learning and artificial intelligence are real. If you want to go for a job industry, for academia is different, but for the industry, yeah, machine learning and artificial intelligence has lots of demand. So, and the cybersecurity also is really hot topic, but it depends, because you pick this path and you stick with that, right? You need to go every single day. You need to go to job and work in this area. So you need to love it. You need to kind of enjoy it. But I can say that getting certificate gives you an idea, or even if your certificate shows that you have an abstract or general knowledge about cybersecurity, right? But that the certificate doesn't show that you can work in this area. You are not expert in this area. So I can say that it depends on the their interest, but it's up to their interest. If they enjoy cybersecurity, I believe that is really hot topic, and it has lots of things to do. It has a big area, and they have a job opportunities.